you all. Super. We can talk about it all the time. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Good luck to you all. Have a good summer.
How are you guys doing tonight? Learning a lot? You still have energy? Learning a little bit more? I try to keep it very, very short. Right? It's pretty late. So feel free. I mean, I'm not a big fan of very long classes. So when you sit more than an hour, it's actually not good for the body. So feel free to stand up and dance or stretch. Right? So feel free.
No, we can go. I think it will be right back.
Okay, so my name is James, and I'm very happy to be here and honored to be invited by Dr. Chen and Ku to share a few information and share a few of my experience. I've been in this field for more than 10 years, so this is actually one of the case studies we had presented in one of the supply chain management conferences in Atlanta 2 years ago. Currently, I'm working for some clients right now in St. Louis, but you know, the industry best practice is not to discuss too much about the client I'm actually working on right now. So we might have some sensitive data for that. So I choose the project we've done 2 years ago, but I'm actually pretty proud of this project because this is the system we have spent very little money and we actually saved a lot of effort and cost for this client. And then even though the system is designed in a very simplified way, but they're actually using it on a daily basis. So during this, for the past 10 years, we've been helping a lot of clients. Let me show you a few. So many of the clients, you can probably already know the last of them. Okay? So even though we have helped many of these clients, but for the experience that we get is many of them is actually not using the system in the right way. They spend a lot of time and effort to work with like big consulting partners like IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, PwCs. But because the initial direction they have set up for the project was not the right one for them, does not fit them. Okay, so they end up wasting a lot of money. We've been seeing so many cases that they spend like 5 million, 10 million, 25 million, and the next year, then they find out that it's not the one that they need. They business wants, and they like to keep using it, so they have to end up scratching everything and then redo everything again. So what we're trying to do for in my company's perspective is to try to find a niche, try to find an area that we wanted to save the client a lot of money. We wanted to give them the best of the suggestion for the best of breed solutions. Right? We don't want the most costly ones doesn't always mean it's the best one. So it's the one we actually evaluate the business process and find out what are they lacking and what they're looking for. So many of the clients then they have implemented projects with, for example, a solution with 1,000 functionalities, but they actually end up using only 50. What a waste, right? So in 2012, when we incorporated this company in St. Louis, we have decided that we want to get into a market that that only we can deliver. Okay, so think about how as a very small guy competing with the big giants, how are we going to compete with them, right? So we have our niche. We wanted to find out a market that we can fast deliver the solutions and proposals and to the client and solutions and then architect evaluation for them, and then recommend to the best great products. And then hopefully we can take on some of the products and then we can implement from end to end. So the best of the solutions that we use are mostly coming from SAP. You know, you guys know SAP, right? Have you heard of SAP? Okay, so they're actually the third largest software company in the world, and then the best one, the largest one in the ERP world. They actually run 75% of transactions in the world. So, and then we are very focused on supply chain management solutions. So those are the components: the demand planning, supply network planning, production planning, detailed scheduling, global ATV check, supply network collaboration, and demand management. It covers pretty much everything. From your, like those two gentlemen talk about a lot of statistical forecasting, right? So that we cover in demand planning. And then for the supply network planning, we use a lot of cost optimization. So evaluating the manufacturing cost, transportation cost, carrying cost, and all the other penalty costs from the whole supply chain, from the supplier, manufacturer, the distributor, and then the customer, and then it's an international business sometimes, many times. So we wanted to evaluate everything together, constrain the whole solution in one formula. Okay, so that we'll cover from there. And the production plan detail scheduling is for one plant. So we can have very big, but we can also have very small. We're considering in one plant, how are they going to utilize their resources? Because in one plant, you only have that many machines, right? And if you have many products, or have many different product lines, you want to see how you're going to switch product. You are going to switch machines and use only available manpower and manage the machine resources. How are you going to schedule things? So that's the production planning and detail scheduling. And global ATV check is probably very close to the end of the supply chain to the customers. So we wanted to take the customer orders in serious consideration in this module. So we wanted to see if the customer places an order, and then can we meet the order? Do we have inventory to cover? If we don't have the inventory, do we have the raw material to make it? Do we have time to do that? So we use that. And then for supply network collaboration, is model for the vendor interaction. So many vendors right now in the international market, for example, we have a lot of suppliers from China, from India, and Brazil, those all areas. And then they need to see, they wanted to have a better understanding how we're actually forecasting. They wanted to see what's the manufacturing capacities we have and how much forecast we have. And then they wanted to like replenish by themselves. So we use a lot of vendor management inventory modules. So in supply network planning. And also we provided a web-based tool. So they don't actually have to install something on their end. It's all cloud-based right now. So they just go browser and we give them a URL, it connects to our firewall, and then they can actually see the screens, they can see our inventory, the production plan, sales order, purchasing order, and then if triggers an alarm, and they can actually replenish by themselves. So that's very agile or fast. Okay? And then the last one, SAP event management is more of tracking and trace. We wanted to know where it's about your products, and is it when you ship from international to US and then to many different channels, and if you use a rail car, if you use air or boat, where is it, right? You wanted to know exactly where your product is, so you can respond accordingly. Okay, so that's some of the roles we play. So for this particular case study, for this client, it's one of the largest rigid plastic. So they manufacture bottles. So the bottles for that, and then for Gatorade, Coca-Cola, and many other pharmaceutical bottles. So actually they are the largest one in the world. And then they have, just in the bottling industry, they have 5 billion revenue. So they contract us to do this project to design a supply chain system for them to place, to do a replenishment. So So how much planned delivery you wanted to make based on their inventory levels. So they have a target stock level, which is, you guys know about min max, right? So maximum you cannot go over that, otherwise you incorporate the penalty cost. If it's too low, and then you're not using your facilities well. So we want to keep in that level, and how to do that, and how to use the system to create purchase orders for their suppliers. So this one we're actually dealing with the raw materials. So an interesting thing is, once you start working in the industry, you have so many different clients from many different industry and from many different requirements. And for example, those two gentlemen talking about a lot of forecasting. So for example, if the product is so complex, so one of the projects we did for Harley Davidson, and then they have the bicycles, right? They have the bike, have so many components. And then if you wanted to forecast the final product, you have to know each every single thing. And then, so that you have to really build a very strong bond with what we call is bill of materials. Meaning what's the input, what's the input component, what's the output component, what's the constraints between them. Okay, but for this project, it's pretty easy because we only forecast one material. That's the raw material. And that's the thing we actually deliver for this project. So that's only one material we only need, one form material. So some of the savings we did for this client. So there's a lot of inventory costs saved. We didn't list it here because at that time we were still doing the evaluation. But at least for the demurrage charge. So they ship the products from the vendors to many different rail yards using the rail car. So if they finally reach to the receiving yard, and then if you park that for more than 48 hours, and 48 hours without moving it into your warehouse, you're actually getting punished. So we're actually saving a lot of money. So think about this project only cost $3,000, $300,000. So not even $500,000. But in this industry, you will find that many clients, they spend like millions like this. 1 million, 5 million, 25 million, 50 million, very easily. They need to spend that much. Oh, go ahead.
How long did this take to complete this analysis?
So in 3 weeks, 3 months. In 3 months. So so that's because we can do this very fast, and we know the subject very well, and that's actually one of the advantages compared with the big guys. Because for them, the minimum is 6 months. Even the requirement gathering. So you wanted to know what they want and what the client wants to implement. Even the requirement gathering sometimes takes 6 months. So it's kind of we're using like a rapid implementation methodology. So it's very fast, and then they still use it today. And so that's the material they actually use. It's called resin. It's actually harvest from trees, and then they make it to particles, and then they melt the particles and they make bottles. It's too small bright, you won't be able to see. So basically the idea is, and then it just passed. So the idea is you have to figure out how much to forecast, and how much is your inventory, and what's your target level, what's your expected level, and then you just run the engine. And in this project, we use the supply network planning with the SMT module within SAP supply chain component. So for that, we have the engine actually evaluates everything and takes into the consideration of all the constraints and all the goals, and then it gives you a planned delivery. So from this chart, you can see, don't take a look at too much of the small size of the contents, but this 4 components, right? So this is 4 different systems. This one is from vendor. This vendor sits in Mexico and China. And then this one is the ECC system. ECC system is the main hardcore execution system, manual orders, sales order, purchasing order, manufacturing orders, inventories. So it's all executed in this system, SAP system. for this one, is the planning system, APO, stands for Advanced Planning and Optimization. So that's the one we actually focus on. So that's another system for APO to do all the global plannings and evaluating all the supply chain components, and then give you an optimized solution. And then once we generate the proposal, this is a planning system. We only generate proposals, and once the proposal is generated, we release it to the execution system. And then from there, the end users is actually getting the actual orders. Purchasing orders send it to the vendors, and your vendors ship the product to you. And then if it's a manufacturing order, and you send it to the plant and actually making the products. But this is the planning system to give you your guidance. And then this one is event management. It's actually add-on. So if you do a software design, these two are add-on systems. So you just plug in. And right now we call it supply chain. My business, my SAP business, the whole package. And this is two components. And this module is for all the tracking. So some of the screens, I don't know if you can see very well, but this is the actual APO software. So I think in SIUE, you guys have the SAP, and then you guys have some ECC components already. I don't know if you guys have SAP APO, but check if you do, check it out. That's a separate module. And then this is something like a planning engine. We call it planning book. It's kind of it looks a little bit like Excel sheet, but it has all the planning engines built in. So for example, for the spreadsheet, you have something called solver, right? In a spreadsheet, you can actually run linear programming or optimization, something like that. So we already have those. So we have 3 different engines built into this model. And then we need to do a lot of configurations based on industry, based on the particular requirement. So that's how we come into picture. We're actually taking the requirement from business clients, and then we evaluate whether this software can do what you need. And so then we do what we call gap analysis. Okay. And after the gap analysis, we will understand if we can do it, and if we can do it, how we're going to configure the system. So we're actually not doing the programming. We're not programmers, but actually there's a lot of configuration points we need to touch in the system. For example, if you wanted to take into the consideration of the past forecast, if it's past, then we just let it go, or we still want to consider. Or if you wanted to, use the sales order to come through your forecast, or you wanted to take into account your warehouse constraints, or you wanted to leave it as infinity. So all those configurations we need to consider, and then we can configure the system to our needs. So you can see the top line of the forecast. Okay. So in this particular project, we didn't do static forecasting. We use static forecasting for many other projects, but for this one we don't need, because the clients, the planners, they know very well how much they need. Okay. We even talk to them about trying to get them to try to use static forecasting, but then we don't need it. Because see, that's how we are different from big guys. Because for them, they are going to push you. They say, this is very good. You're going to use it, you're going to like it. And then it's going to give you a lot of added values, and then this and that, and then when you get them into implement it, but they actually don't need it, because they know exactly what they need. Okay. And the planners, they've been running this business for 20, 30 years, and only a few planners handle the whole global supply, so they know it. And then all those existing receipts. What we call receipts. So for example, inventories and purchase orders, how much you are going to get the product coming into your warehouse. So we consider all of them as your existing supply. So that's your forecast, that's your supply. How much more you still need? Okay, we just run the engine and it just tells you. Some of the components we set up, for example, this is a setting that we tell the planners to use. They need to keep the target stock level like 6 days of the inventory, average inventory. So that's how, if you keep your stock level to about six times of your average, then you will be able to cover. So that's one of the settings we ask them to guide them to use. Okay, then we just run the engine and create a proposal. For example, this you can see that, right? It's here is 195,000. So the reason it increased exactly like that, and actually for this 194 is 2 times of this, right? So the reason it increased exactly like that because we designed it. Because the reason being the 47 is the size of the truck. Truck can only hold 47 pounds. And then for a real car, it can hold 195 pounds. So for this particular client, they don't create any orders different from these 2 components. They don't do half truck. Either they do 1 truck or no. That's configuration. I actually use a methodology. The configuration is called transportation lot size. So in the transportation lane, so they have many different vendors. They provide different manufacturing plants. You can set up from this lane and this lane, how much is the size that we need to create an order to for. And then we also give it this is one of the actual customization we did because it's not available in the standard configuration. So that's how. So for us, we just write the spec. So we need this function, and we need to design the interface like this. So the planners can actually see very clearly. That's the purchase order number, and that's the product number. That's the plant, and then that's the time, and then that's the quantity. And they can see it very clearly, and they can select the one they don't want. They can delete it. But it's not available in the standard function. What we did is we designed an interface, and then we write a spec. It's called functional specs, and then we pass it on to the developers. And developers will write their own technical specs, and then they'll just code it, and then they'll pass it on to us, and we test it, and then we present it to the customers, and then they'll test it, user acceptance test, and after that we just deliver. Right? That's one of the deliverables. So right now I'm just also covering for you guys some of the jobs functions we do in the business. So we kind of liaison of business and IT. So for this business, actually, that's one of the tools we use, but it doesn't mean that that's the only tool. So the most important thing to be successful in the industry for supply chain management is to know the business process. So that takes years to practice, to accumulate. But the more understanding you have for the business process, and the better you will be. And the tool is just one tool. You can get training. Actually, we are training for this tool. So we've been providing training since 2008. We're providing the corporation training and individual trainings. So we actually have, since then, we have trained more than 200 individual consultants from all over the world, literally in 5 different continents. So tools we can train, but the business understanding that you have to accumulate while you are doing your work. So this is just show you how we're actually passing purchase orders from the planning system to execution system. So I can actually see the deal numbers, purchase order numbers. Okay, and then let's quickly move on to the SNC, Supply Network Collaboration. So this is the system we designed for suppliers to access the system overseas. And then just a browser, and they can access the system and see everything. And then if they can set up a target. If it hits their target, it might automatically replenish and directly send the products to us. So that's the web-based collaboration tool we created for them. Yeah, some of the key components. If you guys wanted to have know more about this particular project, and then you can actually get the slides from Dr. Chen, and then you can study it. And then Let me know if you have any questions. So very quickly, move on to the event management module. So in this event management module, we actually track everything coming from, starting from the PO creation. So we create a purchase order for vendors, okay? And then the vendor receives the purchase order, they'll acknowledge it, okay? Saying we have received it, we are ready, we are getting ready to ship the product to you. And then they are going to create, before they are actually sending the product, they are going to create an advanced shipping notification. So it's for ASM. It's one document in the system, one of these processes. And then they start shipping it. And then we're going to track the car, track the real car, where the product is. On the whole process, if there's something wrong during the shipping process, we're going to get notified, both the vendors and also the customers, the plant people. And then goods received, when we receive it and when we move it to our actual warehouse. So because it's event management, and we actually do not want to care too much about the business when it's running good, right? So if it's running well, that's fine, everybody's happy. But we actually wanted to manage the whole process based on exceptions. So when something goes bad, so if the car turns bad or on hold in these services, or if some purchase order gets canceled before we even know it, before even the vendor receives it, we need to know those exception events, and then people will get a notification from email or text, and then they will go and check. Okay, so we actually manage by early events, late events, and unexpected events. So just one example. So this is for PO creation. So once we create a purchase order for vendors, and then think about this time from 8:30 to tomorrow 8:30. From here to here, they need to receive the POs. Okay. So some of them, if they receive the POs before here, that's we call it early events. So that's good because when they received it, they can respond it to us. Now we can have a better management because we can start moving stuff and respond it. But if they, by this time, they still haven't received it, it's called late events. So notification will be sent to vendors, plants, and material managers. Okay, so that's the late events. And for this one, it's an exception. It says, so a PO gets canceled. For some reason, we don't know. Okay, so before the vendor actually received the event, received the PO, it's already canceled. So we wanted to get to know about that and see if we need to create a new one or we just forget about that because of some legitimate reason. Okay, that's just one example. And same thing for the other events. When the PO gets acknowledged before the shipping notification is created. Okay? Same thing for this one. Look at the number 5. That's the one when the car gets bad. So the car turns bad while the shipping, and then it gets put on hold, and then we wanted to know about it. And also, that event actually triggers the whole information change on the in-transit inventory. So consider the inventory. You have the product saved in the warehouse, and also the product coming in on the way. So this is one of the in-transit inventory. And because it's put on hold, so we cannot still count that as our incoming inventory. So we are going to take it out. So the event management system is actually going to update the APO system, also the ECC system. So everything is highly integrated. It's actually a pretty complex system. But luckily, we have many different people from many different teams and groups, and we work together. So system demo has ASM creation, and then this is the actual PO creation. I wanted to show you this screen. So you can see when the rail car leaves the station, and you can see where exactly the car is located right now. It says the junction received, delivered, in transit, departed, and then you can see when it actually arrived. is interesting. I think I wanted to share with you. So this system is actually pretty accurate, but we actually haven't tested if the events happen too fast, whether they can respond or not. But right now, because yesterday I have a friend sent a product like 2 pairs of Nike shoes to China, Shanghai, to my brother-in-law, and then they are going to send that product to my family in different city. So they actually log onto the system. So to there's millions of express shipping companies in China. It's not like here we only have USPS, UPS, and FedEx and DHL. But in China, there's literally millions. And then so it goes online and browser gets to find a shipping company nearby, and then he places the order and gets the product description, and then within 3 minutes, the shipping guy came to the house, knocked on the door, picked up the product, and then delivers it. And then also updates the information system right away. 3 minutes. That's just purely crazy. We don't know why. We cannot even get like 10 times slower than that. But I mean, now it's revolutionized. Everything is. Okay. Some of the lessons learned. So not only for this project, for any projects, one of the biggest lessons is we need to have the core team members established. So some of the people from the business, they really need to know the business very well. Sometimes you are not getting the right people, okay? So that's just wasting of time. And then when we collect the requirement initially, and it turned out not to be the one they actually need, so that would be a disaster. Right? You really wanted to have the core team members from the beginning, and also like the technical and functional. So some of the consultants, they are very good functional, but it will help if they know some of the technical, because they can talk to technical people using their language. They actually identify the problems from the beginning. So we really have to get the whole scenario, not just a piece of it. And one of the implementation methodology we use, like for maybe 99% of the clients, they use it's called waterfall. So meaning you gather the information during the time, and then you collect the requirements, and you do the gap analysis, and then you do the design. You spend like 3-4 months to design, and then spend another month to test. But and then you give it to customer. First time present it to the customer. So the first time when they see it, they might like it or they might not, because it might. So when I tell you a story, you tell him, and you tell him at the end, it's a different story. So right. So everybody knows that. So right now, many clients, they have started trying a methodology called Agile. It's called Scrum. Agile methodology, meaning you have 2 weeks window. Have you guys heard about it? Yeah. Some classes are over, right? You have 2 weeks window, and then you actually present it to the customer in 2 weeks. And then this is the function we want to deliver, and then this is testing what we're going to do. And then you might not. So, for example, we design an interface, and then this does it look good? Do you want to change some buttons? Even right now, even you click button does nothing, but this 2 weeks we're going to do. The next 2 weeks we're going to add some functions to that button. When you click, it actually does something. And so it's more communication. People can communicate the first thing in the morning, and then the last thing before I get out of work, and then I can update everything. So more of a communication, and then keep the business involved from the beginning. That's the key point. Okay. So even right now in Monsanto trying some projects trying this way. So that's we're done. Okay, so that's my context. So feel free to link to me or email me, and then if you're interested, I can give you a free 2 hours in depth APO training. So all complimentary. Just send me an email. Any questions or anything you wanted to know? not specific to the topics I talked about.
So we can post the PDF that
Yeah.
you sent. Okay, we have not, but we will put it on the course website. So
Sure, yeah.
so they can have all that information. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can scan it.
Yeah.
Using your phone.
you have that one, yeah. Since we just got the slides today, so we haven't had time. Here's the question.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
How big is your company?
We're
Like,
using
so I
agile
just-
model. So we take more people when we need it.
Okay.
So we only have a handful of people as a full-time employee, but we depend on the project scale. Sometimes we need more people, and then we bring more people as a
Like contract work?
Yeah. And actually, a lot of people we already work with them for previously, or we know each other. So it'll be easier, flexible, and we already know how the competency. But some of the students we train, and then we actually put into our projects as well. Yeah. So the training would normally takes just, our training is actually a job-based training, so it's not so much of bookish knowledge, it's actually preparing you for the job. Okay, for what you exactly need to know for the first project, second project, some of the configurations, some of the basic processes. We know exactly what you need, and then we just train for about 2-3 weeks. Sorry, 2-3 months. Some people did it in 3 weeks, but depends on how much time you have and how dedicated you are. And then we're here to help and understand all the questions. And then once you finish all the training, then we assess how ready you are. And then once we feel you're okay to take on projects, we'll put you into projects. Even in our training, not only like you guys, right? Sometimes in our training, we recently have a student. He has 25 years in production planning experience. He worked in the industry 25 years, but he wanted to transfer his role from the business to the IT side, more to the IT side, because he thinks he can do better, and he wanted to get more into the global planning. So the production planning is only a small piece of the whole planning structure. So he wanted to increase his knowledge and skill set. So he joined our training, and then only a few 2-3 months later, he got a senior the supply chain management role. It's actually a very senior BA role, and then it worked out very well. Any other questions? Well, feel free to send me any questions you have, or we can connect later and talk about things. Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess that's all for today. Okay, thank you. I think on Thursday you have another class, right? Thank you. You normally finish around 9 or?
Finish at 10.
10. Finish at 10. It's all dark.